Good afternoon and welcome to today's session. It's been a while. We've been engaged in several live activities around data protection, conducting enlightenment to different groups. We had engagements with civil society organizations. We had engagement with children. Yeah, we had engagement with children. I think we should actually upload the discussion with children so that other children who were not able to join that session will be able to take advantage of it. Yes, it was interesting. Even children have data rights and they should be protected too. So last time we're here, we talked about articles 1 to 7 of the guidelines, application and implementation directives. And we emphasized that Article 7 talks about the duties of data controllers and data processors and what it takes to remain compliant, amongst other articles from 1 to 7. So today we'll continue our deep dive discussing articles 8 to 13. Yes, article 8 to 13. Or should it be 14? Yeah, maybe we should touch up the way to 14 so it will be 7 7. So, taking off from Article 8 is titled Designation of Data Controllers and Data Processors of Major Importance. And it starts by defining who a data processor or controller of major importance is, by explaining that they are data processors or controllers who are resident in Nigeria, process data of Nigerians, and the definition goes on and on. But of significance is sub-article 4, where it tells us the three categories of data controllers and processors, which is the ultra high level, the extra high level, and then the ordinary high level. And sub-article 5 talks about the fees payable based on these various categories, and they are found explained further in Schedule 7 of the Directive. Article 9 talks about registration as data controller and data processors of major importance. It requires every category of data processor and controller to register. Yeah, it requires every category to register. And then whenever there's a change in the details of their registration, they are required to notify the commission within 60 days. However, while the registration for the ultra high and extra high are once, the registration for the ordinary high is annually, because this category do not file annual reports. So they are required to keep registering every year. But for the ultra high and the extra high, they register once and then file annual reports every year. That's a significant point to take note of under Article 9. And then Article 10 talks about filing of annual audit returns with the Commission. It is required that every data controller and processor carries out an audit and then files a compliance report. These reports, which like we said is annual, will be done on or before the 31st of March. Prior to now, it was the 15th, but has been extended to the 31st. And then for organizations that were not in existence before the Act came into existence on the 12th of June 2023, they are expected to start their filing 15 months after their operations commenced. So for those who were in existence prior to June 12th, filing cutoff line or cutoff date is the 31st of March every year. while for the others who came into existence after June 12, it is from 15 months after the commencement of their operations. This cutoff date expects all the controllers to file, but any controller or processor who fails to do so is subject to a penalty of 50% extra of the filing fee. The filing fee is as found in Schedule 10 of the directive. And then of note also under the Article 10 is the fact that these annual filings can only be done by licensed data protection compliance organization. So you cannot file on your own to the commission. You have to go through data protection compliance organizations that are listed on the portal of the commission. As you know, you can reach out to me. I am a lead auditor in a data protection compliance organization. So we move on to Article 11. Article 11 talks about the need for every controller of major importance to have a designated data protection officer. Makes it compulsory in line with Section 32 of the Act. Every organization of major importance must designate a data protection officer. That's one of the shortest articles of this guideline. Article 12 delves further into the details of the data protection officers and is titled Position of Data Protection Officer. It explains the uniqueness and the exclusivity of the office and why it should not be subjected to several other responsibilities, avoiding conflicts in their duties, ensuring their independence, and then positioning them to have for data subjects to have access to complain directly to their offices, and they need to make provision for the functionality of that office. Then Article 13 gives further expectations from the data protection officer. It requires that they must conduct semi-annual audit reports for their organization and report same to the designated officer of their organization. And then this same semi-annual report is required to be submitted to the data protection compliance officer, the DPCO, during the annual filing, and is going to form a part of their annual audit report, which will be filed to the commission each year by the data protection officer. So generally, if you want to be a data protection officer, or if you are already a data protection officer, you want to spend time on Article 13 to understand your roles and your responsibility, what is expected from you on a day-to-day basis from this directive. And then Article 14 talks about credential assessment. So we said during the general overview that the new rule around data protection is not for organizations to just pick up anyone and designate the data protection officer. They are required to be qualified. And the commission intends to have an annual credential assessment of these designated officers to ensure that they are qualified to carry out the responsibilities that are allotted to the Office of the Data Protection Officer. So this is very, very important for data protection officers and even organizations to go through to understand what it means for a data protection officer to be considered qualified for the office. Article 15 is not unique. It basically talks about the principles of data protection as found in the Act. So there will be no need for us to deal with that. Likewise, Article 16 deals with the lawful basis, which we are already also used to. And then Article 17 is titled Reliance on Consent. And then it has a deep dive into consent and how to take advantage of the principle of consent. There is a little tweak to consent around from Article 17, 18, and all the way to 19. So I guess we can hold off on dealing with consent to our next discussion, where we'll take a deep dive, because it has about 4 articles dealing with just consent alone. So we can stop here for today, and then by next week when we come back, we'll continue our analysis. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the session. It's a short one intended to keep you abreast. Have you subscribed to this channel? Oh no, you should do that very quickly. Thank you for being here. Put on your notification button. We'll definitely be able to complete this very, very quickly. Looking forward to having you next time. Bye.